The National Association of Realtors reported that the median home price in California reached $835,000 in 2024. The national median across all 50 states was $407,000 for the same period. Those two numbers do not belong in the same housing market, and yet both are American. Both are priced in dollars. Both are financed through the same federal mortgage system, at the same interest rates, with the same 30-year terms. Today's number is $200,000. We are going to run it through 5 states against California. Not to argue that California is wrong and everywhere else is right, but to show in specific and documented terms what that number physically delivers depending on where you use it. 5 states, 5 comparisons, the same $200,000. All listing data was sourced from Zillow, Realtor.com, and Redfin at the time of research. Prices may have changed. This is market analysis, not financial advice. Pair 1, $200,000. In California versus Tennessee. In San Jose, Zillow research documents that the median price per square foot currently runs above $700. At that rate, $200,000 purchases roughly 280 square feet. That is a studio apartment. When a listing at this price even exists in the active market, which is uncommon. When one appears, it arrives with shared laundry, assigned street parking billed separately, an HOA management company with rules about balcony furniture and guest vehicles, and monthly dues of $400 to $600 on top of the mortgage payment. Moving costs, first month, last month, and security deposit to get into the building will likely absorb another $5,000 to $10,000 before the keys are in hand. In Los Angeles County, the same $200,000 puts a buyer in a bidding war for a 1-bedroom condo built in the 1970s. Carpet throughout, original kitchen. 3rd floor walk-up in a building without an elevator, HOA fees apply. The outdoor space, if the unit has any, is a narrow concrete balcony with a view of another building's facade. No yard, no land. No driveway, no storage unit, no garage. Just shared walls, a fixed parking arrangement, and a mortgage on something smaller than most American garages. Tennessee, $200,000. In Hardin County, West Tennessee, $200,000 buys a 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom house with 800 square feet on half an acre. Front porch. Detached storage building. Property taxes in rural Hardin County on a parcel at this value run under $200 annually. HOA fees, 0. The concept does not apply. In White County, in Middle Tennessee's Highland Rim, active listings at the time of research included a 4-bedroom home on 1.5 acres at $195,000. 4 bedrooms, 1.5 acres. $5,000 under budget, with money left over for a new water heater if the one in place is older. In Chester County near Jackson, a 3-bed, 2-bath ranch on 2 acres with a detached workshop was listed at $188,000. The workshop, a separate dedicated structure for tools, projects, or small-scale manufacturing, is a feature California's $200,000 buyer cannot access. It does not appear in the price range. It does not exist as an option. Tennessee has genuine trade-offs. Job market density varies heavily by county. Summer humidity is a real factor. Rural broadband access in some areas remains inconsistent. Those are legitimate livability variables. They are just not the same variable as the square footage math. Verdict. California's $200,000 rents you a concept of ownership. Tennessee gives you the physical reality of it. It is also worth noting the property tax gap in practical terms. A California condo in Los Angeles at $200,000, if one were available, would carry an assessed value that triggers California's Proposition 13 base tax of approximately 1.1% annually, or about $2,200 per year, rising with reassessments over time. In Hardin County, Tennessee, the effective property tax on a $200,000 home runs closer to $1,100 annually. The difference in monthly carrying costs, stacked on top of HOA dues, makes the California purchase structurally more expensive at every level of the transaction. Pair 2, $200,000. California versus Arkansas. Forget San Jose and Los Angeles for a moment. Go to California's cheapest major city, the one Californians point to as internal proof that affordable options exist within the state's own borders. That city is Fresno. Fresno. The California Consolation Prize. Median home price in Fresno at the time of research, just above $350,000. At that median, $200,000 places a buyer $150,000 below the average transaction in the most affordable large California market. What actually exists in Fresno at $200,000? A heavily distressed property in a high-vacancy zip code. Zillow flags these as competitive because investors and cash buyers absorb anything this far below the county median in volume. The timeline for a typical buyer to close on a $200,000 listing in Fresno, competing against cash offers, is unpredictable and often unsuccessful. You are being outbid in the cheapest major California city at $200,000. That needs to sit for a moment before the Arkansas comparison lands. Arkansas, $200,000. In Cleburne County, Central Arkansas, $200,000 buys a 4-bedroom, 3-bathroom home with 2,400 square feet and on 3 acres, documented on Realtor.com at the time of research. Mountain views from the back porch. A seasonal creek runs along the property line. A detached 2-car garage already stands on the lot. No competing cash offer queue. In Baxter County in the Arkansas Ozarks, the same budget purchases a lakefront cabin with 2 bedrooms, a covered boat dock, and direct lake access. That listing was priced at $194,000 at the time of this research. $6,000 is under the number that cannot clear the Fresno floor. A lakefront cabin with a boat dock for less than a distressed fixer in the cheapest California city. The income differential between California and Arkansas is real. Average wages are higher in California. Cost of living is also dramatically higher. Arkansas ranks in the bottom 5 nationally for overall cost of living. The housing gap is the most visible symptom of a structural difference in what a dollar covers in daily life. In Arkansas, a lower wage buys more total life than the same wage in California. The math works differently all the way down. In Cleburne County, $200,000 does not make you wealthy. It makes you a homeowner with 3 acres and a garage. In California, it makes you a participant in a bidding process that the market has already moved past. Verdict: one of these is a functional housing market. The other is a pricing experiment that residents did not opt into. It is worth adding the property cost basis context here as well. In Arkansas, purchasing above the county median price does not put a buyer in a competitive multiple offer scenario in most rural markets. The offer process is more conventional, the timelines are more predictable, and the transaction costs, closing costs, transfer taxes, title insurance, are lower in absolute terms on a $194,000 transaction in Baxter County than on a $350,000 transaction in Fresno. The total out-of-pocket cost to close differs meaningfully. Pair 3, $200,000. Las California versus Missouri, Eastern Orange County. Not the expensive coastal section, the inland edge, where the city names get less recognizable and the prices become nominally less extreme. $200,000 in Eastern Orange County represents the absolute floor of active inventory. When something appears at this price, it is a 1-bedroom condo under 700 square feet, built before 1985, in a building managed by an HOA that has rules about your balcony furniture, your guest parking hours, and what window coverings are visible from the exterior. Monthly association dues add $400 to $600 to the effective carrying cost. There is no land. There is no storage. There is a clause in the governing documents about your right to install a satellite dish. Missouri, $200,000. In Ozark County, in the Missouri Ozarks, $200,000 places a buyer on 20 acres of mixed woodland with a 3-bedroom cabin already built on the property. Working well, functioning septic system. Both are already installed and absorbed into the asking price. A well installation runs $5,000 to $15,000, depending on depth. A septic system runs $3,000 to $10,000. Neither cost is ahead of a buyer here. Missouri property taxes on a rural parcel at this value run roughly $900 annually based on county assessor data. In South County, also in the Missouri Ozarks, a Redfin search at the time of this research returned a 5-bedroom farmhouse at $189,000. 5 bedrooms, 12 acres, a barn on the rear of the property, a spring-fed pond. The listing had been active for over 4 months without moving. 5 bedrooms, 12 acres, a barn, a spring-fed pond. 4 months on the market. At $11,000 below the California number that gets a buyer into an HOA condo with an assigned parking spot and rules about satellite dishes. The Missouri Ozarks have trade-offs that deserve honest acknowledgement. Rural cell coverage in some areas is spotty. Unpaved county roads exist. Healthcare access requires a drive to a regional center. For a buyer who needs urban amenities daily, this is the wrong comparison. For a buyer who has solved the income question remotely and is prioritizing land and space, it is the right one. The difference between what $200,000 physically delivers in Orange County versus Reynolds County is not a difference of degree. It is a difference in what the word home physically means as an object. Verdict: Missouri didn't do anything particularly clever. California just lost its connection to what a home purchase is supposed to accomplish. The practical cost comparison on a monthly basis reinforces the gap even further. A $200,000 mortgage at current 30-year rates generates a principal and interest payment of roughly $200 to $1,350 per month, depending on the rate. In Orange County, add $400 to $600 in HOA dues and $220 in property taxes to arrive at a monthly all-in cost of $1,820 to $2,170 for under 700 square feet with no land. In Reynolds County, Missouri, the $189,000 purchase carries a P&I payment of around $135, property taxes of roughly $75 per month, and zero HOA dues. The monthly cost is lower, the acreage is 12. The bedrooms are 5. That is not a marginal difference. Pair for $200,000. California versus Mississippi, San Francisco Bay Area, $200,000. The Bay Area is in this comparison not as a rhetorical exercise, but because the numbers clarify the national pattern at its most extreme end. In San Francisco proper, the median down payment on the median-priced home now exceeds $200,000 in cash. The number is not a home price. It is an entry ticket to begin the application process. In Oakland, the median home price at the time of research exceeded $650,000. In San Mateo County, $200,000 is approximately 10% of an average transaction. You are saving toward qualifying for the mortgage, not toward the purchase itself. In the Bay Area, at $200,000, you are not buying anything. You are one of millions of people who cannot. Mississippi, $200,000. Mississippi carries the lowest median home price of any state in the country, according to Zillow research, sitting at approximately $175,000. At $200,000, a Mississippi buyer is purchasing above the statewide median. They are not navigating the distressed segment. They have the top third of the available market at their disposal. In Rankin County, east of Jackson, $200,000 buys a 4-bedroom, 2-bathroom home with 2,100 square feet in a residential neighborhood with established infrastructure. Schools within 2 miles. Grocery stores within 5. A backyard with enough depth for a garden, a swing set, or a fire pit without encountering the fence on the other side. In Copiah County, southwest of Jackson, the same budget covers a farmhouse on 5 acres at $187,000, with a detached outbuilding and a fenced perimeter already in place. In Lauderdale County, near Meridian, a 3-bedroom brick ranch on half an acre, with a carport and a separate workshop structure, was listed at $165,000 at the time of research. That leaves $35,000 of the budget unspent for improvements. The wage differential between Mississippi and the Bay Area is real, documented, and significant. But the housing gap is not explained by that differential alone. It is explained by 2 markets operating under entirely different supply pressures while sharing the same currency and the same lending infrastructure. Verdict: in San Francisco, $200,000 is a savings milestone on the way to the application. In Mississippi, it is the house, with land to spare. The monthly cost math reinforces the comparison at the practical level. A $200,000 mortgage in the Bay Area does not purchase a home. It is a savings figure toward the down payment. But run the same $200,000 as an actual mortgage in Rankin County, Mississippi, and the monthly P&I at current rates runs roughly $200 to $1,350. Add Mississippi's effective property tax rate, which runs below 0.8% on average, and the total monthly carrying cost on the $200,000 purchase lands well under $1,500 for a 4-bedroom home above the state median, in a neighborhood with functional services and established infrastructure. Pair 5, $200,000, California versus Kansas. Riverside County, California, the Inland Empire. Riverside County was positioned as Southern California's relief valve for 3 decades. The place where people priced out of Los Angeles could still access the regional job market and climate without LA's price tag. Drive 60 miles east, get back inside a number that made sense. That arrangement worked through roughly 2019. The median home price in Riverside County now exceeds $490,000. $200,000 in the Inland Empire is what homes cost there in 2012 and 2013. It is a historical reference, not an active listing category. The people who escaped LA's prices by moving to Riverside are now being priced out of Riverside. The relief valve absorbed the migration, then reset the price floor. Kansas, $200,000. Kansas does not appear in these comparisons as often as the numbers justify. That is a correctable oversight. In Lyon County, central Kansas, $200,000 buys a 4-bedroom, 2-bathroom home with a full basement, a 2-car attached garage, and a fenced backyard on a 1/4-acre residential lot inside city limits. Near schools, near a hospital, no HOA, no shared walls. The kind of house the phrase American home used to call to mind before price compression made it impossible to visualize. In Harvey County, just north of Wichita, a Redfin listing at the time of research showed a 4-bedroom farmhouse on 2 acres with a detached workshop and a 2-stall barn at $194,000. A barn. A workshop. 2 acres. $6,000 below the Riverside County number, which cannot purchase anything in the current active market. In Reno County near Hutchinson, a 3-bedroom brick ranch with a full basement and a 1-acre lot came in at $178,000 at the time of research, leaving $22,000 of the budget available for updates, appliances, or a fence. Kansas's housing market stayed in range because it did not systematically detach from local wages. The population is stable. Infrastructure, roads, utilities, regional hospitals, functions. Wichita is a genuine employment center for the region. Property taxes are moderate. The market did not decide to price out the workforce it depends on to run the local economy. The consistent cultural complaint about Kansas is that it is boring. That is a lifestyle opinion. It has no bearing on square footage, basement storage, or the annual tax bill. What Kansas offers is a housing market that still functions on the premise that people who live and work in a community should be able to afford to own in it. Verdict: Kansas is not a consolation prize. It is a market that kept its math intact. The monthly carrying cost comparison in Kansas is worth making explicit. A $194,000 purchase in Harvey County at current 30-year fixed rates generates a monthly mortgage payment of approximately $1,165 to $300. Kansas's effective property tax rate on residential property runs around 1.4%, which translates to roughly $225 per month on a home at this value. Total monthly carrying cost, approximately $525. No HOA, no parking fees. For that monthly number, the buyer has a 4-bedroom farmhouse, a workshop, a barn, and 2 acres. In Riverside County, at the same monthly budget, the buyer is roughly $350,000 short of the median available inventory. 5 states, 5 comparison pairs, the same $200,000 through every one of them. What these comparisons actually show is not that California is wrong and the rest of the country is right. There are personal, professional, and relationship-based reasons why millions of people stay in unaffordable markets. And those reasons are real and legitimate. What the comparisons show is that the American housing market stopped being one unified market a significant number of years ago. It is now a collection of radically different pricing environments with no consistent relationship between what homes cost and what the people earning money in that region take home. The 30-year mortgage, the same interest rate, runs through all of them. The outcomes at each end look nothing alike. In Tennessee, Arkansas, Missouri, Mississippi, and Kansas, $200,000 delivers bedrooms, bathrooms, land, secondary structures, and the physical space to exist without a homeowners association telling you where to park. In California, that same number is a down payment conversation, or a bid that gets rejected, or a studio with someone else's wall on the other side of your kitchen. The weather, the career, the people, the life you've built, all of those belong in a real decision about where to live. They're just not the same variable as what $200,000 buys in soil and square footage once you get there. The actual question: are you paying for the place or the postcode it happens to be assigned to?